tryna take it down, place for you just scoring minds, best the bar.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming into January 9th, 2020, and I want to talk about how Iran could still crash the market, why the stock market went up today, and then what we're going to be looking for tomorrow. This is going to be very, very important because today we saw something. It's going to set us up now for either this melt up, which we've been expecting and coming in here for the first few weeks of January, or the first week of January leading into the first few weeks, but now how this could create this even volatility we saw. And even today, after the report, Donald Trump came out and he pretty much announced that the only retaliatory measures are going to be economic and not leading to more of an escalation with war and dragging us into war. Markets like that, the market went up, and then as it was holding up and going up, it was going strong right after the 11 at 11. Then all of a sudden, it started to sell off in a pretty big fashion. And then you're seeing here, this is after close, after hours, even leading until now. It made that same pattern we've seen a lot where it drops a lot and then bounces right back up. So this is the danger of bear markets, and that's how, or even again, just volatile geopolitical markets where you get drops. It's going to be big drops followed by run-ups, run-up, and then big drops. So that's what we're asking for the next steps here in the next few days. But back to this situation, what happened here was we saw this drop come when there was reports in Iraq that the green zone was bombed and that there was like 2 or 3 more bombs. So they ended up confirming that a little bit later. The markets didn't like that because, again, here we are announcing that we are not escalating the situation, and then Iran attacks again. Well, it was a militia, but that is what I want to talk about because this is still kind of showing the tensions on the table, but the market is pricing it in as if everything's okay. So that is going to be important. So that's just the teaser, but let's get into it. But before we do that, you guys know what you need to do. Make sure you guys are subscribed, drop your thumbs up on the video. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. Shout out to every single person watching this video, but everybody who's on the live stream today. We had a bunch of people tune in while Trump gave the speech. We had all of that live. We were watching the market. So come tomorrow, or if anytime any events break out, or any other day. It was pretty cool to see, and today there was a lot of big moves, and even round trip. This was a very, very, very large move on the market. So hopefully we see you there tomorrow. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch list below. Let us know what you're looking at. Let us know if you got any plays you've already made. Post it there. We got to source that information. And now let me even ask you this question. Do you think we're going to get more Iran escalation, or is it done? Is that it? Peace and love from here on out? What do you think is going to happen? But getting right into it, simply why the stock market went up today is because once Donald Trump came out and they said that we aren't retaliating, the market took that as a good sign. It was better than having more escalations, which could lead to more problems and uncertainty. The weird part was that by the time, remember I made that video yesterday while it was happening, and even by the time the video posted, the futures bounced back up. We opened up positive, and that's what I was saying with those big drops and then ending back up and then chilling out. But we opened up positive. The market was a little bit shaky in the morning, but right when Donald Trump came out around, it was like 8:15 a.m. Pacific, then everything started going up because now the market knew what was going to happen. Some people are saying this doesn't make sense. It makes a lot of sense. Here's 2019. You guys saw what happened. 2018, we had problems, and then we started ripping up off of some of the trade stuff getting agreed to in the beginning of 2019, more delaying of the trade war, then fixing some of the stuff with the liquidity and the rates. But then when any of those trade problems came back, the market would come down, then it would come back up. But then anytime there was problems, whether it be rates or trade, the market would stop this continuous going up. That's what was happening. Anytime there was events that would make investors worried about future pricing, people would sell off. So that's what started to pretty much happen around all of these times here. Is that if you think about why we've had this melt up, it makes a lot of sense. We had all of the stuff coming into 2019, the closings of the trades, the window dressing, all of that, the beginning of 2020. But now, up until like November, the market didn't know what was happening with that trade war. That's why we were still in that volatile zone there. But then once the trade war stuff went off the table, that was now a problem that was solved. The market was able to go up, and now that's why it's starting to trip out here, because the last 2 days, what would happen is, well, we were going up, nothing was changing, everything was going good 2020, but then first, second day, that's when you had the Soleimani get killed. That's why the market started getting more volatile, because people were now worried about what would happen and what it would mean for market implications. Now, 2 days later, we had the reaction last night from them attacking us, and now we see that we're not going to attack, so this problem is still slowly going away. So that's literally why. I mean, it does make a lot of sense when you're starting to put this together with the bigger picture and why the market's reacting like this. It pretty much, if there's any information that is going to say this isn't that big of a deal or the market is not as concerned with it, and this is one less thing for investors to worry about, everything else in the climate is good enough for, all lights are green, let's go, melt up. So that is the first part. Now, this is what I want to talk about with how Iran can still affect the stock market because there's a few things at hand. One, even today we saw right away there was panic the minute there was those bombs that went off in Iraq, and that's important because even though this one didn't come directly from Iran and was as symbolic as the last attack from Iran or the retaliation from Iran, that's something you got to realize. There's going to be a lot of symbolism with all of these attacks, and again, we're going to get very political analysis. Technically, I am a political scientist, so, welcome. Nice to meet you. I'm Josh Answers. Make sure you guys are subscribed and like the video. We're live Monday to Friday, 30 minutes before open. Thank you. Option trading, shilling, mercy, can't lose all time, financial advice, please, financial advice, educational purpose only. Thank you. But these attacks were very symbolic in how they did it. But now this one that happened that we were confirming towards close, when that came out, you didn't hear the same claim of responsibility right away from Iran, and it wasn't the same thing. But now this could raise a problem because if somebody from the U.S. dies again, that's what started this thing a few weeks ago, was when a contractor died. Even if it's at the hands of a militia, they will hold Iran accountable, especially some of these militias that they have back. So that's one thing. But then the next thing, Iran said they're going to go after Israel. Iran pretty much says if you attack us, we attack Israel. And now this is where it's going to get very interesting because there's also going to be the allies. And now the question is, Iran done? A lot of people think yes, but then we're getting, multiple reports. This kind of threw that wrench in it, and that's something to even show you how quickly investor confidence will evaporate because as that news comes out, when we find out what's happening, investors and people are going to change their mind. So we're not quite out of the clear yet, but in the meantime, the market will probably go up until there's more heightened sense of worry or until something actually happens. So essentially, Iran could still pretty much crash the market by attacking us, even not directly, but if one of their militias ends up killing somebody and there's still little microaggressions that continue, or if they end up attacking Israel or any of these allies, and then that spills over and again provokes this problem to make us go to war, even though we do not really want to. It's been now very, very clear, and this is something I brought up, is that this is the second time we've seen it from this administration, especially related to Iran, and even the last 6 to 9 months. After Iran got that drone attack attacking the Saudis, we didn't attack them when we should have. That was pretty historical. That should have been big, but we de-escalated. We chose not to do that. We hit them with sanctions. So now we're doing the exact same thing here where they've did something very unprecedented, not for a while, and our response was only economic sanctions, which that's why I'm saying you might even see other attacks. Who knows? There should have been a very strong response from the U.S. for that, as they've done historically. So this is where it gets interesting with all of this stuff. So I could go on for days about this, but keep an eye out for that, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. I still think this is a concern, but let us get into the plays. I want to talk about some of the plays that we made today. I only made one play. Today was kind of our long-term actually did pretty decent, but there was still a bust in some of the other plays. But then I also want to talk about a strategy here of how to go about some of these plays in this type of market. And then tomorrow we might get a gap up, or maybe even Thursday again, if the market could really brush this off. But if all this stuff stays lingering and it gets bad, that's a different story. So as far as the first play, we did NOC today because, again, this morning I think we bought them pretty early. We bought them when they were at around 374, I think even a little higher, because the contract went up and then it ended up coming down. Yeah, we got it early in the morning. But they were up at 393 yesterday in pre-market. Remember, they went up 5%. The defense stocks have literally been going up the most during this event, even more than it's been easier to play defense stocks than oil or anything. That's why it's caught my attention. But I grabbed an NOC for next week, so we had time, but I got a 400 call, and I got that for 35 cents. So surprisingly, that's what it's at here now. I could have ghetto spreaded it, and I should have. That's what I was looking to do. I was looking to get 35 or 40 bucks back. But these went up, and again, the contract, even at close, it shot up as the pretty much the minute the panic came in, this contract even tripled from that bottom. So it's an interesting one to watch, and NOC in general, this is going to be the one to keep an eye on as a sleeper. This or any of the defense stocks if these contracts get cheaper. That's why I'm getting time on them. Think when Boeing was going through all that stuff, but now this is related to NOC, Lockheed, and Raytheon. But I like this play a lot, even though it went down, but the fact that it just made that little run up and then the premiums came back, that's telling you something about it. And again, just how they've moved. So NOC is the only play I made today. That's what I'm looking at. We didn't get a chance to buy any more shares. I wanted to get some for the long term, but Abivi went up and all that. So we're watching that, but we still have a little bit more cash to deploy in the long term. Other than that, I did sell out of the Facebook. I closed out of that spread. I got $75 on it or something. and it ended up now it's at 216. So it's almost at max gain. I sold it off in the morning and then it dropped. But now that Facebook had such a crazy close, or just even the crazy rip with the market, they ended up actually going up. But I still like the Facebook. I want to see if I could get a play for next week. That's what I'm going to be keeping my eye out for. And then the Amazons, I'm still in those. I still think we watch them. They were definitely a lagger today, so watch them tomorrow. They're going to be very, very interesting. But I'm still in that play again. I'm setting up for a pre-earnings play and then a post-earnings play. So that's what we want to set up. But I still like Amazon overall. And then our Shopify's went up. Keep an eye out for them tomorrow. They're going to be very interesting. And then Tesla was crazy. This is what gave the inspiration. It was both Tesla, and then you also saw it with Apple, but this is that strategy I'm talking about now. If we do start seeing a broader melt up, the market hits new highs and everything starts to gas and we're able to spot it early. I saw these today on Apple and I hesitated. I didn't take them. These closed at like 70 cents, but at one point we were watching them. They were at like 20 cents, but I think it was the 310s. I thought these were just not even close to hitting, and then they still are, and that's kind of the key here. I would do this with the next week, but if we do start to get a broader run up and some of these companies really just start moving crazy as they have, think Tesla, think Apple, because again, when there's fear and then the fear goes away, a lot of force brings stuff the other way. That's why you're getting these unexpected moves. Apple, Tesla, all these companies, even now Home Depot, and that's one I really want to talk about. But the key in the strategy tomorrow is kind of going and getting far out the money, cheap stuff. You could even do it with a debit spread, but you could buy some of these far cheap ones. If we're getting broader market 1-2% moves and we're hitting new highs and some stuff starts rotating crazy, the goal is pretty much get those ghetto, spread them, and flip them quick. But that is something I'm going to be looking for coming into tomorrow and the rest of this week. Because, again, this is why I'm also saying getting time. Because regardless of how this week closes out, even if this week kind of closes out a little bit higher or we get some more bad news, next week is really going to be where we're going to see that digestion come into play. So we really haven't seen anything yet, even towards the upside or the downside. So keep a lookout for that. But now my play of the week, I'm probably going to make something on this tomorrow, make a play on it, or I'm for sure going to put this on the watch list. It's Home Depot. If Home Depot breaks out of this range, it's kind of like we saw with McDonald's, but the key is they are catching up with each other. So they operated a little differently. If you could see, we saw HD and McDonald's, and it makes sense. They're now doing the same thing. These could start rotating, and as you're seeing, HD and McDonald's, they're trailing. If they were the SPY, they would be up here on the 100-day. They would be well above their October highs, but they're not. But now you're seeing them converge. You're going to start seeing these moves. So I'm going to be keeping a lookout for McDonald's and HD to break those ranges, and it will be a fun one. But watch that. Watch Walgreens. They had earnings. We had the shares. They got killed. You would have hit on the criteria. Remember, I only played one way, but if you played both ways, you would have gotten slightly above your break even. You would have pretty much got like 60, 70 bucks back, and you would have spent 30 to play it both ways. And again, if you're confused on the criteria, I have that video turning 160 into 1600 on Tesla. That's the title, but that goes over the earnings criteria if you guys want to review that, the standard deviations and all that. But watch them. Watch tomorrow too. Helen of Troy, they beat earnings. They did really, really good. They shot up here, so we'll see what happens with them. They were really expensive, so you couldn't even have played them with the criteria. Then Bed Bath & Beyond, again, look at that formation, so don't get too confused. This is how downside works. It drops, hits a level, comes back up, stays, then drops, then rips back up, but it's stair-stepping down. But they had a bad earnings. They halted their yearly guidance. That's why they dropped so much. So watch them. And then lastly, it was Grub and then even Uber. But Grub got the news that they hired an advisor for a sailor acquisition, and then they got halted. But then Uber and Yelp started going up, Yelp, excuse me. And that was interesting. I think some speculation, my first thought, I think a lot of people's first thought was that Uber was going to buy them. So we'll see. But Uber actually really did good off that. Even Lyft did good. But again, watch for those shitty stock rotations. And then there's Qualcomm. I was going to say finally, watch Disney and now watch Walmart, because now comparing Walmart to the Home Depot stuff, I'm going to get more into this. They are going to operate a little differently, and maybe they're going to need to have their rotation move. But then lastly, Disney, it's still holding up. Again, when you start seeing tech and everything, any of the melt-ups, those are the laggers that we want to look at. But keep your eye open for all of this stuff with Iran. I think it's about to get very, very confusing and very, very volatile. And even coming into the end of January, beginning of February, if other stuff starts to emerge, things are going to get really, really interesting, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you stay tuned. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're hydrated, healthy, ready to go. Make sure we see you on the live stream tomorrow. Make sure you post your watch list below. Make sure you're positive, respectful. Keep the helmet on. And, baby, you get to determine everything you've went through. Is it for the positive or the negative? You make that decision, man. Tell me what is in your hand. I need some dedication. I need some determination. I need that helmet on, baby, and we sniping, we waiting. There's a lot of noise and a lot of moves and a lot of frogs out there. We gotta get it, baby. Let's go.